All right, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. This is the next generation ICT for HAG Leader Section, where we are going to be discussing over the next or less than 30 minutes the role of ICT for next generation agriculture, entrepreneurs, profitable enterprise. So let me just let you know, I would like to actually start with this. Personally, for me, my name is Femi Adekoya, and I'm an agripreneur. I've been in agriculture and the business of agriculture for more than 12 years now. And I want to tell you that I don't want a sexy agriculture. I want a profitable agriculture. And this is why we are here. This is why we want to talk about profit. We are passionate about agriculture. We are eager to actually, do what we love. But much more, we want to actually see agriculture pay our livelihood, sponsor our livelihood. And this is why we are actually having this section, and to see, is there a way out with ICT? What can we actually do? And yet today I have with me across the two regions, we are from Africa, from Asia, and also from Latin America and the Caribbean. We have various speakers here who are going to be sharing their experience, their thoughts, and also their perspectives on this topic. We are going to be talking about the challenges and aspiration of younger agripreneurs, which we call agricultural entrepreneurs. And we want to also explore ICT as an enabler, or perhaps a solution to actually ensure profitable enterprise or enterprises. So we also want to share success stories and many more. So sit tight. I know that my speakers are actually ready to actually share with us. Joshua, Tanya, Venki, and Fumi, you're all welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. And I know thousands of youth and agricultural stakeholders are actually here listening to us and would like to actually hear about our experience, our perspective, and what are the solutions and recommendations that we have about the topic. It is very, very important. And I want to say again, for me, I do not actually want an agriculture that is just only sexy, but I want agriculture that is profitable, that can actually avail to us a sustainable and decent livelihood. So let me start with Fumi. Are you there? Yeah. Okay, Fumi. I know that you are actually an agripreneur with vast experience in agronomy and also having your enterprise. What are the challenges you actually face, as young entrepreneur in respect to the topic, in the agricultural field? What are the challenges that you face? And from Fumi, I'll move to Joshua. Okay.
Yeah, thank you, Femi. From my experience, the challenges we face as young entrepreneurs, it's enormous. Honestly, it's enormous. As much as the advocacy about us, the youth going into agriculture, particularly inclusion, like having women in the agri space, lending their voice, giving their own best to make it attractive to younger generations. Honestly, it's been challenging. Also, one of the challenge I had is gender gap, like this biasness when it comes to acquiring land. There's this gender biasness in this part of the world, Africa. I will like a lady, so you first struggle with that. You just have to prove yourself, and beyond reasonable doubt that you are able to do something as a farmer. I farm vegetables. So, and another thing, even after I've gone into the business, okay, they now believed in me that a lady who can do what a man can do. Another challenge I have is when it comes to labor, like farm hands on the farm. The first perception is, how will a guy work for a lady? That's the first one. Okay, why will you be working for a lady farmer as a guy? As a man, you should have yours, forgetting that our strength differs. So that's one. And generally, another problem we face is markets. Markets. Honestly, in Africa, or let me see Nigeria as a case study, farmers don't have control over market price. We just produce that weapon. We should be farmers that owns that weapon, not the middlemen, not the buyers. Because we are the one producing, we are the one that goes into the input market. It is our own sweat that goes to that market. We invest ourselves, we invest our life savings to produce food for the world. So market is a very big challenge. We just produce, like, let me say the general word, on God. So what comes is what we live on. So that is one challenge. Another challenge is adding value. I come from the part of the world that value addition is capital intensive. Really, really intensive. So for younger ones, it's something we aspire to scale beyond being a smallholder farmer, but we don't have what it takes. We don't have it. Yeah, we want to be successful. We want to be, I browse a lot about farming in the Western world. I see how lucrative it is. I see how farmers look like. It's not what I'm doing. But this part of the world, but I don't have what it takes. I want to add value. Light comes as a challenge from the part of the world I come from. Another thing is technical know-how. Technical know-how. Most extension services are not adequate in the part of the world we have. Like Nigeria as a case study. Technical know, most farmers they still work based on outdated knowledge they know. So we're talking about ICT for agriculture. How much of technology does farmer have access to? I mean, simple ones, not complex. Simple ones that even someone that just have ordinary certificates can easily interpret, can easily put to use. Not this complex one that is meant for graduate farmers. No, that's not what we need. We need simple technical innovations that farmers can really, really interpret themselves.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Fumi. I mean, even before you get into the solutions, thank you so much for sharing your experience and the challenges that you actually face, more particularly, even as a young woman in the field of agriculture and farming, your experience and how that actually limits you. You actually talk about market. This is actually not, and there's something you actually made mention that young people do not just want to be smallholder farmers. They want to scale. They want to actually see agriculture as a business that needs to scale. Because if I understand you well, it is when you scale your business, or perhaps as your livelihood grows, you want your business to also scale along, to also grow along, so that it can be able to meet your livelihood and also meet the livelihood of people attached to you or to your community or society. Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Joshua, I want to actually move straight down to you. What is actually your perspective? What are the challenges that you're actually facing, mitigating against your profitability as a young farmer in sub-Saharan Africa, particularly? So over to you, Joshua.
All right. Good day, everyone. Good day. I am Joshua from Nigeria. Thank you, Fumilayo, for those very important points you made. In addition to what Fumilayo said, I just want to add 3 more points, because it's practically the same challenge we face. All right, so I want to begin with this issue of not having some specific agrochemicals in the country. In other words, I mean, there are certain active ingredients that are not available in the country. So when we check the internet for potent agrochemicals to combat fungal diseases, bacterial diseases, we see so many active ingredients in other areas of the world, but it's not available in our market. That is actually a challenge I faced. Then second to that, The few active ingredients we have around, we discover that they are adulterated. So sometimes you get original agrochemical, some other times you are getting an adulterated one. And this impacts heavily on your yield, impacts on how well you can control diseases. And this is not even talking about having money or not having money, but access to quality agrochemicals. So if I'll coin that in a sentence, I would say there is little to zero quality control over agrochemicals coming into the country, and this impacts on how much food we can grow as a community of farmers in the nation. Then climate change has been an issue recently, climate change, with many farmers not even knowing how to handle these things. Like pattern of rainfall has changed, like times of the year where we enjoy humidity, we don't enjoy that now. It's scorching, it's hot, and like Fumi said, there is this little technical know-how about how to adapt to these changes. So that is actually a huge challenge. Then lastly, not to take time, I want to talk about this poor access to innovations or research findings. There are lots of innovations around the world. There are lots of innovations from research institutes, from the universities, but these things do not trickle down to the farmers on the farm. So you, aside from growing vegetables, I am also an educator. I consult for farms, I teach people how to grow. So I discovered that a lot of people are 2, 3, 4, 5 years behind on innovations, on new practices. So these are part of the things I experienced when I started, but I could find a way to leverage on what other people are doing in other countries, like in India, like in Kenya, Ghana too. So I could pick stuff from what they do and replicate in my nation, but it's not the same for a lot of other farmers. So as an educator, I discovered that there is poor access to innovation. So even when we have solutions, these solutions are not accessible to the farmers who need them, or the farmers are not aware of this solution. So that on its own is a challenge. I would like to stop here.
Okay, yeah, thank you so much, Joshua. And you've actually made mention of very critical problems or challenge that young people, or particularly young farmers, face while actually conducting their business. Tanya, I know you also have experience with the Latin America agricultural industry, the agricultural industry over there. I would like you to share your experience and also about the challenges that you face or young farmers and agricultural entrepreneurs face in Latin America. If you can actually share with us what is actually the situation happening there. Is it rosy? Is it profitable? Is it good? Is it attractive? Let us know. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. I am Tania. I'm from Mexico. And I think in my region, one of the biggest challenges is the educational gap, because agricultural schools still don't have the structure to teach about, for example, programming. Like there are some computer classes, but they are not really teaching digital technologies in agriculture. And if we don't know about these digital technologies, if we don't know how to create them, it's difficult that it can be implemented in bigger scale and small scale. Also, the gender gap, as it has been said before, it's a challenge, especially for young women in agriculture. For example, I didn't realize that there was a space for me in this world until very recently, a couple of years ago, when the pandemic started, and I started like taking classes online, and then I discovered like programming courses that are available for everyone. I started there, and then I realized it was something that I really wanted to do. But the gender gap is still there, and it's something that need to be taken into account in many regions of the world.
All right, thank you so much. I mean, you actually came from a totally different perspective, and you actually shone the light about the education gap, particularly because the crop of professionals that we actually put into the industry would actually determine what we can do in terms of how we can innovate and out of problems and challenges, how we can actually access and actually adopt in these innovations. Thank you so much, Tanya. Venki, I know you're there, and I would also like to actually hear from you as regards what are the challenges that young farmers, agripreneurs face in Asia and particularly India, from your experience, from vast experience for consulting and also practicing yourself. Thank you.
Sure. So I would like to probably distinguish the farmers and the agripreneurs separately, because the kind of risk which a farmer takes is very different from the kind of risk an agripreneur could be taking in, because an agripreneur could be an input retailer, as Joshua was talking about, or he could be somebody who's a drone service provider, or he could be a technologist also who is helping in. So there are various levels of agripreneurs there. In Asia, given the kind of labor scenario that is there is a lot of labor that's also available. So you see a lot of traveling laborers who are also agripreneurs in their own right. So when I look at what are the challenges, a predominant occupation for most of the agripreneurs is being a village level entrepreneur, while they provide a lot of services to their catchment of farmer population. Right. So that is largely the vocation there. And so the challenges are always in terms of working capital, which is typically a challenge for companies, when they have to roll, they typically there's a lot of rollover of money. And so there is always a working capital challenge there. And there is, and since it's largely a highly a two-tier kind of a supply chain model, right? There are a lot of intermediaries. So there is always a question of how do we collaborate and make sure that the farmers also benefit from it. So there is the relationship with farmers are very deeper, and at the same time, thanks to technologies, agripreneurs are also looking at how do I maximize the amount of farmers I can serve through technology. So these are also some of the challenges. So which means the agripreneurs also have to, when you look at purely from a village entrepreneur's perspective, they have to manage their cash flows, make sure that they're up to date on latest technologies, get skilled in drones. In drones, there is also the question of regulation. So how do you keep up with the latest regulations that is required, keep up the
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. Thank you so much. I actually had a network. Perhaps this is actually part of the challenges we face.
I also got dropped up because of that. Yeah. I was actually waiting for you and wondering why what happened. Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much for the wait and your understanding. Yeah. Okay. We have actually listed quite a number of challenges, and these are actually very important. I was actually taught, that for you to actually solve your problem, you need to first define your problem. You need to first identify and define your problem. And this is actually what we are actually doing. And what I can see from across region is that we are actually in this together. The lack of finance to scale, the lack of working capital, the fact that you do not detect the market price. The market gives you the price. You are actually a price taker, is actually a challenge, because it is actually practically in the agribusiness space that the farmer, accept price. He doesn't have choice because of he's limited with resources, perhaps post-harvest resources, to actually extend the shelf life, or information to actually be informed, or and a lot more, and these are actually challenges that are actually limiting profitability. It is actually in agribusiness, or perhaps in your farming, that we virtually do not have control over many things. You do not have control over the pandemic, or you do not have control over epidemics on the field. When you have 2 taps to look down your tomato field, who saves you? And at the end of the day, climate change is beating on you. At the end of the day, when you struggle and you have to wage war against pests and diseases, and you bring your produce to the market is saying, oh, I have a good productivity. Now, let me convert this productivity into money. The market is saying, oh, no, this is the market price now. There's a lot of tomatoes. There's a lot of, pigs in the market. And you are just rolling with the situation, and you hope that fate, tilt towards you, in your favor. And this is actually not good for a business. And this is actually why we're here to actually discuss. And how can ICT be a solution to these problems or challenges that we have actually identified? We have identified a lot of challenges, from lack of technical know-how to educational gap or skill gap to a lack of extension services, information, climate services. You want to know when to plant, what to do, lack of access to innovation. We've also mentioned the fact that young people do not have access to resources to scale. Scale is very, very important. And we need to actually emphasize the idea that Africa, Asia, and all that are actually our food system, or perhaps our food security, is dependent on the smallholder farmers. I don't think it's actually a thing of pride, because nobody set out to be a smallholder farmer. And from the look of things, it looks like smallholder farmer is sponsored by poverty. Because if you actually have economic power, you could do more, and you can actually have some level of influence to actually influence price, try to get irrigation, not totally depending on the weather vagaries. You can be able to put some things in place. But enough of challenges. How can ICT solve our problem? I would start with Venki. Venki, how do you think we can actually use various information and communication technologies, to actually bring about solutions to these, to the gamut of challenges that we face in the agricultural sector, particularly in respect to profitability? Thank you.
Sure. See, let me first clarify a few things from the, responding to your points that you mentioned, right? Do smallholders are always not profitable? I don't think so. You come to India, I can take you with so many farmers who are very profitable being smallholding farmers. It all boils down to what exactly are they growing and how are they running their business, right? Typically, when it comes to smallholding farmers, the challenges, of course, there's a lot of land fragmentation. I'm no way undermining their challenges, right? But what is really working out is if you're able to solve the fundamental challenges of, because see, let's understand this, right? Fundamentally, agriculture is one domain where profit is baked into the system, right? I put one seed and what I get is more than 100 seeds in it. So the profitability is wired into this whole system, right? It's only in terms of when we get trapped in certain limited applications where we then get into these issues of we are not able to make do with with the profitability there, right? So today, right now, with technology, there is a lot of value accruing at the edges of the system, right? Today, you see, especially with technology, you can see from the prices perspective, in terms of market linkages, you are able to get and afford and get a better price, right? But the challenge is always lies in discovery, right? So if a farmer is today, if he is growing, like, I saw in the comments, people were talking about agroecology, right? If a farmer is growing in agroecology, the farmers can build their own brands and then directly interact with the market and the consumers and build an e-commerce brand themselves, right? There are D2C players that are coming in, right? And now, if the even if you are a smallholding farmer who's probably stuck with some of the conventional agriculture system, then there are other possibilities where you could also explore agro-tourism as a possibility. So that is also another possibility that is available there for farmers. So the opportunities are immense, right? And if you start to look at primary processing at the initial stages, where you are able to do, let's say, a simple solar drying of your produce, that is also gives a lot of profitability for farmers, and you can easily get about 20-30% margin, provided you are able to find the right set of buyers. So I wouldn't say that for smallholder there is no profitability there, and you don't have to necessarily become a large holder. But for smallholder, there are possibilities, provided you are able to reduce the external inputs. Right now, that's another aspect that there's a lot of loss there, because you tend to buy external inputs, and so you get into a loss spiral. Right, and it affects your in terms of your soil quality also. So so there are a lot more possibilities there. I mean, we just have to open our eyes and see what ways we can explore it. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Venki, and more importantly, to actually making me, bringing the perspective that smallholder farming does not necessarily mean unprofitability. Okay. And that is not actually what I'm saying too, okay? So thank you so much for bringing that to the fore, so that we do not actually mislead, be clear about what we're saying. But we can actually agree that majority, because of these challenges that we have actually itemized, majority of the smallholder farmers are not actually eating profitability. When they cost their labor, when they cost their labor, because they don't pay themselves, and talking about sustainable profitability, not just only in a season where fate is in their favor, but how can they consistently, ensure that they are actually breaking even. And again, there's this argument about who is a smallholder farmer? How do we define a smallholder farmer? Is it about the land area? I don't go into that perspective or the school of thought about land, the size of land, because I can actually have 1 hectare of land today, and I invest, $5 million on my 1 hectare, putting state-of-the-art greenhouse structure over it. You can classify me as a smallholder farmer with 1 hectare, but I am actually economically stable. All right. So, but for me, I think the smallholder is actually one who is actually small economically. So, but yeah, and this is actually to actually just put this quite very clearly. And,
sure.
For us, yeah.
Yeah, see, there are two things, right? I define smallholder farmers in two ways. One who is forced to farm, and one who wants to farm. Somebody who is forced to farm because of the conditions they're typically trapped, and they really experience that kind of being trapped there. But somebody who wants to farm, I think that shift has to happen. Of course, I'm not undermining the challenges there, but I think for most of us, as long as if it's forced, you're doing something, you're not going to see the possibilities and move towards growth, right? So how do we move? That is a very big question in terms of how can we help farmers move to that, and how can we help entrepreneurs also move to that, is again a big question there. I'll not hog more. I'll kind of pause it for others to chime in here as well.
Perfect. That is actually where we are actually going. And we're seeing that youth are not the kind of people who are going to force themselves into farms, to stay there. They are hoping to look for other options. But what we are actually doing right now is because primarily when we are talking about the aspiration, Fumi actually made mention, okay, we would need to be wrapping up very soon. So I would actually kind of ask Tanya what are actually success stories that has actually helped small, young farmers, particularly in your country?
Yes, I would like to share a success story about the avocado industry in Mexico, connected with information technologies. And the problem started around 2018, when the prices of avocado were very low, and there were around 3,000 growers in a specific region in Mexico. So a third generation farmer in that area made an application to connect first the farmers, for them to know which was the price of the avocado at the moment, so they would know when to cut or not. And then it grew, and it connected not only the farmers, but also the importers and the exporters. So it's a platform, is called AvoPrice, that connects the different sectors of the supply chain. And I think this is a success story which is bottom up, which I see in the comments and also in the questions, and that they are talking about how these like sometimes it's difficult to hear people from outsiders to come and say like this is the solution, but as agripreneurs we can find problems and solutions in our systems and solve them with ICTs.
All right, thank you so much. We can actually find this problem and actually solve them with ICTs. Thank you so much for actually sharing with us. So it is actually time to actually wrap up, and we would actually continue this conversation in our expo section. Guys, we have a lot of expo sections during this conference, where you actually find Venki and many other NextGen leaders sharing their thoughts and more deeply. So thank you so much for joining us today. It's actually been a wonderful and interesting conversation. Thank you. So you can actually pop out of this Zoom session and join the lobby. Thank you.
Thank you.